We often surmise that the Earth is simply a vessel that sustains human life. And while that may be true, something that also sustains human life is our thought to be limitless water supply. You know, the thing that we drink every day, clean with every day, clean ourselves with every day, and it's even used for recreational purposes, like for parks, water fights with your friends. I don't know if anyone even does this. I'm pretty sure we would go on our computers and watch an unhealthy amount of YouTube. So, what makes us think that our water supply is ever so infinite? The answer is simple. You may be aware that the Earth has 5 primary oceans: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Southern, and the Arctic Ocean. These 5 oceans on their own account for about 97% of the water that we can see on a globe. Due to how these oceans make up around 97% of Earth's water, it also means that it is not drinkable, as there is an unquestionably high amount of salt that makes it impossible for humans to drink without dying of dehydration. With that being said, there is still 3% remaining. So, what does this 3% consist of? If it's not salt water, it must be fresh water, something humans can drink without dying, right? You are right if you thought this. However, not all of the 3% is available to us. The truth is, more than 2 of the 3% of Earth's freshwater is unavailable to humans. The reason can be due to a myriad of natural causes. For example, it can be trapped in glaciers or snow, it can be highly contaminated, or it can simply be way too deep under the Earth's surface to affordably extract it without our governments going bankrupt. That basically means the amount of water we thought was endless is really just less than 1% of what we actually have access to, out of the remaining 99%. Now, I've talked a lot about freshwater, but I haven't really gone into detail on how freshwater or potable water is produced to be drinkable. To understand the process, we need to look at the water cycle. Like with anything else, there is almost always a cycle or procedure to it, and water is no exception. To begin, the water cycle is a process through which water flows above and below the surface of the Earth. The water cycle is only possible because of the sun's energy, which keeps it functioning. This process begins with evaporation, where the sun's thermal energy converts the water particles into water vapor, which then condenses, forming what we know as clouds. This can occur in many different ways, like through respiration, which is when people breathe in and out, perspiration, which is when we sweat, and from plants through transpiration. As these clouds, or what they actually are, droplets of water, get too heavy, they will begin to precipitate. The process of water dropping onto the Earth's surface is known as precipitation. Rain, snow, and hail are all examples of precipitation. Depending on where the clouds are located, they can either precipitate as liquid water or fall down as snow if the temperature is suitable. If rain or snow melt occurs on land, that is classified as surface runoff. This then leads to percolation, where the water slowly seeps into the Earth's surface and eventually ending up into aquifers. Aquifers are the main sources of many rural communities' freshwater. Research has shown that, quote, more than 95% of the rural US population depends on groundwater for drinking, end quote. And although my explanation makes it seem like the cycle will only take a few days, in reality it can vary up to several years. That is because as water begins its percolation process into the ground, it passes through several layers, from the topsoil to the tiny rock particles in between, moving its way to bedrock, then the most time-consuming fractures, and then finally into underground aquifers. This can pose an issue as the aquifer's supply of fresh water is finite. Now that I have explained the entirety of the water cycle, what is the importance of water and why do we need it? Well, for humans to function, we need 3 main resources, assuming you have a roof over your head. The first being food. Food provides nutrients to our bodies, and through these nutrients, we in return get energy. This energy is used for many things, like maintaining knowledge, so learning, thinking, and basically just keeping all our organ systems healthy. Next is air. Air is probably something that none of us can live without unless you aren't human, and that is because oxygen is what maintains the life of all the cells inside our bodies. Without air, our lungs would cease to function, and you know what happens next. The last important resource humans need is obviously water. Water makes up more than 60% of the human body, and if you think about it, having no access to fresh drinking water is going to pose a problem. Why does it pose a problem? Well, that's because water helps our bodies in so many ways, some including aiding digestion, preventing constipation, maintaining our body temperatures, and cushioning our joints, which prevents muscle cramps. If we don't drink enough water, that can lead to dehydration. Dehydration can cause many problems to the human body, whether that be dry skin, headaches, muscle cramps, craving of sugar, which can eventually lead to weight gain. Though the main cause of dehydration is not drinking enough water, it can also be due to many other reasons like diabetes, stress, age, and if you're on any type of medication. But again, humans can't just drink any type of water, or else if you drink water other than fresh water, you may encounter many gruesome waterborne diseases such as cholera, which sadly, a lot of people in developing countries do not have access to fresh drinking water. And this is not even because they don't have it, rather it's an issue they need to face because of their ethnic backgrounds, gender, their social status, or just not even being able to afford it. Every person should be able to have access to this basic need, yet concepts like money and status get in the way of something that every human has a right to. To end this off, water is a very important necessity that humans need to stay alive, and we should be very grateful to have what seems to be a minor yet important thing such as water, because not everyone does.